Hello from Bali. This is the podcast Pigeon of Peace, where we do discuss awesome skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the comments below for the description. Let's talk about cybernetics, and let's start with the definition.
A lot of people who think or hear this term like cybernetics would think that this is something about cybersecurity or cyber technology or about IT. But no, this is a very ancient word. And this was used like more than 2000 years ago. Cybernetics is the science how to rule the state. And it was a time when the Soviet Union was on our territories. And this was a person, his name was Glushkov, and he was trying to establish several institutes of cybernetics. And he was using so-called BESM and MESM, a big electronic counting machine. And those two machines, big and small. Big was in Moscow, small in states like Kiev, like Minsk, like Tbilisi, and some other states of Soviet republics. They were intent to process information from farm, from plants, and from other establishment to provide economy which could be planned. This was a very great idea. If you have computer in any enterprises, you will give exact data in special tables, and then somebody on level of the state would calculate how many people we need, how many workers, how many students, how many bookkeepers, how many steel should be processed, and so on. And in these terms, we will have no lack of resources and no излишки.
Abundance.
And also it would be no abundance of resources.
And when we speak about the cybernetics, so it seems like, it's something from the past times, which did not have like any use. If we keep looking into the history, so why this thing did not worked out for the Soviet Union or maybe for other countries as well? Like what exactly happened and what came wrong?
Maxim, you give me a very hard or very tough question, and to be honest, the reason is I don't know how to say. I will need your help. I know how to say. This is Russian word which pronounced like приписки when we add something to the number. I don't know how to say приписки.
Well, I guess it's like additions.
Additions. Okay. For example, it would be like this. You are my boss and you're standing in Ministry of Agriculture and Nutrition, and I am on the land. And for example, I am responsible for cows, for milk, and so on. I collect cows during the months, and then I will look at the tables, and nearest farms will work better than me. What I will do, I will put some extra ton of meals. They are not exist, but I will make it like additions. So on the next month, somebody else would make the same with milk, with sugar, with carrot, with potato, with wheat, with steel, and so on. And then we have too many of everything. And when we try to divide it, what would happen? We have lack of resources. For example, you give me an order to give to some schools and children gardens some amount of milk. But I have no milk, I was written in the tables. So I will give to everyone a bit less. So they will have lack of milk, lack of cheese, lack of cottage cheese, and so on. And after several years, this lack would be like 20% and then 25%. So it was a time when we were trying to make so-called social competition, and everyone want to be proud of the results, and everyone would make these additions. So everything was on table, on paper, in perfect shape, but in reality, everything was in luck.
And I do believe maybe it's, might be a wrong assumption. When we speak about cybernetics, it might be somehow similar to AI, where you have to build a picture of the real world and try to use this model in order to, create certain events. But again, like if you miss something or you miscalculate or you maybe misuse something, or maybe you have not so good intentions, definitely it would lead to, some sort of the mistakes. So the question is like, how hard it is to build a comprehensive picture of world so that at least you could provide more or less acceptable results, and how do you define acceptance as well?
Maxim, you pronounce a very correct phrase, how to build a comprehensive model of world. I will give you an example. This is about a so-called stand-up in Russia. It's called Comedy Club, and they have a very good miniature. Is it okay to say miniature?
Miniature is a good one.
Miniature. Okay. One person, which is worker, standing somewhere on the plant and approach his boss is approaching him, and he will ask, okay, now I will call to our minister and I should report him that we already built 400 tractors. Is it okay to say? And workers say, okay, we can say that we built just 200? Not just 2. But how it's possible? We have spent all the year and so on. Okay, we have 2. I will say 10. And after several layers of the call, suddenly we will have like 1 million of tractors. On the land, we have just 2. But in report, we have 1 million. You know how it works. For example, I will create like caps. I will create, I don't know, notebooks. I will create, I don't know, some food. And then I will try to sell it. When I will try to transfer to another country, when I will try to cross the border, I will lose something. I will lose money. I will lose some amount of product, but I want to have all the money I expected. So I should leverage somehow. For example, I will be given order to give some of my stuff to, I don't know, social institution. What I will do, I will give them bribe and I will try to sell it. And then I will have my amount of money. When you deal with Chinese, you should know that they think about money, and quality is function of the money. The less you pay, the less quality you have. If you, for example, huge brand and you work with t-shirts or women's bag, and you want to have good quality, you should pay extra. But then you multiply the sum and you will get this from your customers. The same in cybernetics. Someone should pay for everything. But if you have nothing to sell, nobody can pay. After 10 years, on the papers, you will be owner or you will be managing the great enterprise, plant or factory. But if there would be like audit, they found that your storage rooms are empty. Your, I don't know how to say, machines, станки,
machines or equipment.
Your equipment would be completely, how to say, outdated, and your workers would be unhappy. But on the paper, everything's okay. So cybernetics is about truth, which would be given on the paper, and then it would be calculated, divided for parts, and given back. On the paper, you could always make a comprehensive model of the world, but you couldn't make it in reality.
And when we look into this, like a stream of the value that is created by, I would say, like in one industry or maybe in one, I would say, like a manufacturers, like how we would deal with different dependencies. For example, let's say there is a grain that we need to produce, hence we'll need more fuel, hence we will need more hands, or maybe we also will need to open more deals on the border in order to make sure the throughput or, you know, like our capability to transfer it is increasing. So how to get the comprehensive, not really picture of world, but picture of the dependencies, of the deviation, and maybe some sort of like forecasting, not into one on the one level, but on the multiple ones.
Maxim, you know, there is a saying in Russian language, something like простота хуже воровства. I don't know how to say it.
Simplicity is worse than stealing.
Simplicity is worse than stealing. How it works? For example, I will come as an auditor to your factory, and you are a very honest owner, and you would write down everything what's happening. So you have a lot of problems, but you put it on the paper, and I am happy to see it. But what I will find, for example, 10% of your employee, they work not so hard, and I will ask you, can you please fire them? And you will say no, because they live in the same city which are dependent from my factory. There is also saying градообразующий. How to say it in English?
The core of the city.
the core of the city.
Something
So
like that.
your business is the core of the city. And yes, you could fire some people which has less production, or maybe they work not so hard as average person. But where they will work? Nowhere. So any businessman and any company should understand that there is a social obligations you should fulfill. That's first. Second is comparison. We have already talking about this. So you have a plan, I have a plan, and if you have better performance, no one cares in reality, or on the paper. You will be responsible for more and more companies, and then your career would go up and my would go down. So the honest people couldn't grow in the hierarchy. And third one, everyone to be successful. And for example, if you have a hole or gap in your budget, you will feel yourself not so happy. So you will hide something. For example, you will gain from your fields, like, I don't know, some amount of 100% of grain, but you would steal like 3% or 4% to sell it by the cash, to give bribes and to solve other problems. So there is always, I don't know how to say, there's some усушка, утряска, how to say it?
Or make compression or something like that.
Yes, there is some compression of the time, compression of the resources, compression of the money. You need some social glue. You need some social смазка, how to say? Масло. Social oil. Social
lubricant.
oil. Sorry, comprehend?
Lubricant.
Lubricant to make this wheel turn.
And if we look into the future of cybernetics, like how exactly it might be, given that, you know, like we do have a lot of machines, we do have a lot of some sort of like a brains or AIs. So probably humanity also might be looking for, I would say, like a big brother in a good way, in order to take care of them.
Maxim, if you will think about cybersecurity, for example, for the family, it also wouldn't work. For example, you want to buy a present to your wife. So in this case, you should hide some amount of money. You couldn't take her purse, take some bills and to buy the present. The same would be with everyone. And for example, if suddenly you would be asked by a child to give money for a cinema ticket or to entrance to Luna Park or Disneyland. So sometimes you need so-called reserved funds. And those reserve funds will break all красоту построений, how to say?
The beauty of construction.
Beauty of construction of cybernetics. Cybernetics would work in communism if no one want to have extra resources, if everyone believe to everyone. Maybe we'll come to this. For example, if we will go to Mars and we will stay like 100 pioneers or maybe several hundred of pioneers, we would have the same storage room, we will have the same clothes, we will have everything the same, and we do not need money because on those territories would be no bars, no I don't know, entertainment and so on.
And this is actually was a nice segue explaining like how cybernetics would help to make this world a better place. Stay in peace.